Alrighty, what's up everybody? Hope you're doing well. CBP here. Coming at you today with a fairly casual video. You know how I said I was going to do my more edited videos, in the later half of this year? Well, I thought what I might do is, because this channel isn't exactly hot property within the YouTube algorithm, all of my videos instantly get demonetized now. Even I now have to manually, not that I care about ad revenue, but now I have to manually review any video I want monetized, even if it's like a 5-second clip with no foul language. It automatically gets a yellow sticker. So I'm like, I think I'll keep this channel just for casual videos, and I'll put the new kind of more, put together videos on my new channel. And like I said, I'll make sure every new video is monetized on that channel, and that way those videos will have a fresh shot within the algorithm, and they have a chance of being suggested and popping up in recommendations. And this channel can just be more kind of casual, casual streams like this one, where I just talk about things I want to talk about, basically. So yeah, I'll keep this channel for the free-flowing content, the free-flowing, not trying to chase views or anything, just talk about something that's on my mind kind of thing. And and I'm also going to do more. I'm also up for, if anyone wants to, if anyone knows anyone I should debate, now that I finally got my audio set up for live streaming, I've got my Wi-Fi sorted, I've got my microphone sorted. If anyone knows any channels that I should have a discussion, a debate with, you think I should reach out to, just let me know. And yeah, I finally feel like I have enough practice now. I did a stream with Thinking Ape, but the microphone that I was using was my Bluetooth headset, which was not a good selection. But thanks to Alexander Grace, I think he's got like over 200,000 subs now. He sat down with me for 40 minutes off the air. You won't see that footage, but he sat down with me for 40 minutes and did mic tests with me and everything, and helped me get set up. So I owe him a big public thank you, even if an actual stream will not actually be uploaded between us. He sat down with me off, behind the scenes and got me set up. So a big public thank you to him. Anyway, so I've got multiple different topics to do today. I've got several different topics I'm going to be discussing. Let's start off with the one that I just learned about, the most recent one, which is the Onlyfans saga. So right before I began recording this video, like an hour ago, I already had a couple of stories I was going to talk about today. And I was just thinking, is there anything else going on in the news? So I checked sort of, the most recent articles and saw something about Onlyfans banning sexually, and this is very important, banning sexually explicit content. And the second I saw that title, I said, there's no way they're banning what we think of when we think of Onlyfans, which is nudity, because we know that that's their bread and butter. I don't care what type of pressure the credit card companies put on them or anything. We know for a fact that they're not going to ban their bread and butter. So as soon as I saw this, I thought there's got to be more to this story. They're not going to ban nudes, because that's what they are. That's what OnlyFans is. And I opened up the article, and it talked about how they're banning sexually explicit content. And then I scrolled down and saw the most important part of the story, which is that they're not banning nudity. They're banning pornography. Dick ejaculating seminal fluid onto nipple area. They're banning that. Okay, they're banning porn. But they're not banning nudes. So nothing's going to change. Everything that was happening. By the way, these terms and conditions are set to take place. They're set to come into effect in October. So this might affect, porn stars or whatever. But it's not going to affect average women on OnlyFans who create a Tinder profile and, they just get guys to sub to their OnlyFans, or, women on YouTube, the Ellie Hardesties of the world. This isn't going to affect them at all. Because those content creators typically don't do hardcore porn. But this is everything, this story encaptures everything I hate about not only mainstream news that always capitalize on a gimmicky title, like, OnlyFans banning sexually explicit content, which implies that they're banning nudity as well. But what I hate even more are those normie content creators who are always chasing views. They're always clickbaiting. Every video they do is designed to clickbait and not only appeal to their current audience, but, designed to kind of go viral within the algorithm with as big a clickbait title as possible, which, is fine if you're reporting on actual news, if you want to get ahead of the story and, get the clout or whatever. If you're actually reporting the news, I don't have a problem with clickbaiting. But these titles aren't even accurate. They're so desperate, the audience, I mean, to get one over on the women, to feel for a few minutes like that they as men can have a win, that they're not just getting clowned on the dating market. They're not getting laps run around them by average women who can make more in an hour on OnlyFans than they can make in a week at their crappy call center jobs or whatever. So they watch these bigger channels like The Quartering and that Penguin Zero guy, who are constantly, looking for the next win. Apparently Kevin Samuels is talking about how millions of OnlyFans women are now going to have to go work at Subway because, they lost their jobs on OnlyFans. Simps owned, women owned. And it's such a cope. In fact, you want to know who wins the most out of this? OnlyFans. They're the ones that get the most out of it. You know why? Because they now get to keep, the big credit card companies that were putting pressure on them to end the pornography aspect of their businesses. They get to keep all of the nudity on their platform. Or, the millions of women that make, a huge living off of shaking their ass, twerking on camera for their audience of simps. They still get to keep those women. They still get to keep 90% of their business. Because, to my knowledge, most porn stars don't even make a primary living off of OnlyFans. Most of them make their money off of actual porn. I'm talking about, like, hardcore pornographers, That website, Pornhub, makes up a big part of their income because of the ad revenue. I wouldn't know anything about that, of course. I'm not familiar with those weird cartoon porn ads at the beginning of Pornhub's videos. Are you alone? Meet a single girl today. I don't know anything about that. This is what I read on the news or whatever. But yeah, I'm tired of these normie males who would be better off just accepting where they stand, accepting the problems accepting the problems that are confronting them, rather than living in this delusional world where they're owning the women on OnlyFans. Now that, all of these attractive women are going to now become homeless because OnlyFans is making a small portion of their business pornography free, hardcore porn free. If you consider a woman shaking her bare naked ass in front of the camera, like twerking on camera, with nothing on, if you consider a girl like squeezing her nipples in front of the camera, if you consider that a form of pornography, then OnlyFans is not banning porn. It's such a delusional fantasy world that these types of guys, the geeks and gamers of the world, want to live in, where they have that anti-SJW mindset, where they just want to think that they're owning everybody, but they're the ones getting owned. OnlyFans is not based in red pilled. OnlyFans is going to make more money now. The biggest winners of OnlyFans banning hardcore porn is OnlyFans. And in fact, the women on OnlyFans, the nude models, their business is probably going to go up because OnlyFans has now silenced their competition, which is the hardcore porn stars. So I know that Ellie Hardesty bought a huge house with her OnlyFans money, and it took her years to even take off her bra. She made hundreds of thousands a year just from walking around the house in a bikini and just taking photos off of it. So, you know what I mean? What I'm saying basically is that women like Ellie Hardesty, they're probably going to make more money now because part of their competition has been erased. Now that the premise has been set, there's plenty of OnlyFans competitors. So even if in a year's time, OnlyFans update their terms and conditions, and I don't think they'll do this, but, conceivably if they were to ban the nudity aspect of their content, there's a million other OnlyFans alternatives out there. It's not like YouTube where it's just predominantly YouTube. OnlyFans has many different viable alternatives because the guys that are wanting to pay are highly motivated, they're very highly motivated. So the premise has been set anyway, and they're not even doing it now at the current stages. So yeah, man, it just annoys me when millions of guys want to cope and delude themselves. Like, just accept the brutal reality and stop deluding yourselves. That's all I want to see. All right, let's move on to the next story. This is not one I really have too much to say about. I just want to quickly mention it. Looks like Freshandfit stepped in it. I'll give you the footnotes of it. Everyone who watches this channel probably knows who Freshandfit are. They've been around for not that long, but they've made quite an impression. I will give them credit. They took a huge gamble on that channel. They built that studio, which must have cost thousands of dollars. Those microphones, all of that is a really expensive setup, and they did that when they had no viewers. They invested several $1,000s in that channel, and they came together and they just started making videos. And yeah, they got lucky with YouTube recommending them to the Kevin Samuels viewers, and they managed to book a few high-profile viewers and whatnot. Sorry, high-profile guests. But yeah, they really did build that channel from scratch, and they had a lot of luck, but they put in the time and effort. In saying that, though, Myron Gaines is a total degenerate, and none of these guys are, before they came on the scene, none of them were living the high roller lives that they're always trying to pretend. I've seen guys that try and present themselves as these I'm going to put these hoes in their place, and I'm like a big pimp and everything, and they're just total nobodies in real life, and that's who they were before. But ironically, by pretending to be a pimp, by pretending to be these high-value Chad Rones, they have ironically built themselves enough clout that they're able to use it. But anyway, basically, I'll tell you what happened, what the drama is. They're now getting thousands of downvotes on their videos. But what happened was, there is I'd describe them as very popular normies called Aber and Preach. I didn't know anything about them before. I'd always gotten a bad sense about them because they always did like clickbait titles. We all do a bit of clickbait here and there, and I get it. YouTube is their job, but I'm just not a big fan of clickbait. I hate the face. That's one of my biggest pet peeves on YouTube. The goddamn face. It's not quite the soy face. It's the reaction face. That needs to be banned off of YouTube. I refuse, no matter how much I like a channel, if they start putting videos with the reaction face in the thumbnail, I will unsub to them, no matter how good their content is. I don't care if Jesus comes back, in human form. If he goes on YouTube and puts a soy face in his thumbnail, I'm unsubbing, man. As you can see, they got into a little bit of a beef with Freshandfit. I won't go over the whole thing, but basically, I think they started out initially as quite on friendly terms, but Aber and Preach said something very minor, like minorly offensive about, minorly critical about Freshandfit, and they spurred out on their show. They're like, we're better than them, we make more money than them, we're more alpha than them, and, insulting Aber and Preach's wives. I don't know, I didn't follow it closely, but basically, Freshandfit spurred out and overreacted. And they actually have a lot of crossover subscribers, and the vast majority of people agreed with the Aber and Preach side of the story, that Freshandfit are just a couple of assholes and everything. And you see, what's going on, right, is that everyone's saying, Myron Gaines has exposed himself as a fraud time and time again. He's not really an alpha male. That's what people who followed Freshandfit are saying. They're like, he exposed himself as not really being an alpha male, because apparently Freshandfit said that they would get into like a physical boxing match or something with Aber and Preach, and I'm not going to get into the drama because I don't care about it. The point is, right, a lot of people are unsubbing from Freshandfit, but they're not unsubscribing from the mentality of Freshandfit, which is devoting your life to being some mythical embodiment of masculinity, that, a man is made up of two things, his word and his balls, and good times create. A lot of these guys, they live by this ridiculous mindset, this like pseudo-masculinity mindset, this prescriptive masculinity mindset, not realizing it's such a waste of their lives, it's such a waste of their time and energy. But I just wanted to quickly comment on that. The problem with Freshandfit, it's not that they claim to be alpha, bro, but they're not really alpha. It's that they claim to be something that fundamentally doesn't exist. It's the whole pimp mentality in 2021 is just such an outdated, outmoded concept that it's just a total joke. It's a total joke. So the people that are unsubbing from Freshandfit, That's good. I'm pleased to see that. But you need to unsubscribe from the mentality of Fresh and Fit, not go looking for someone who lives up to this phony definition, this mythical definition of an alpha male or a high-value man or whatever they've deluded themselves into thinking. You know, like, yeah, there's high-value men out there. There's variation in value in men, but you need to remove yourself from looking for that entire thing, because it's just a total crock of shit, that whole alpha male, sigma male kind of mindset. In fact, let me prove to you that the Fresh and Fit audience, not all of them, I'm sure that there are some okay guys that listen, but let me prove to you that there is a massive delusional coping mindset in the Fresh and Fit audience. Not only do Fresh and Fit produce videos about Onlyfans, you know, there they are, one of the people promoting this bullshit story that millions of women are going to be out on the street because of OnlyFans banning hardcore porn. But look at the comments section. Take a look at these comments, man. It's everything that I'm talking about. This power fantasy, this revenge fantasy. All of these dusty-ass guys quoting Kevin Samuels, pretending that the apocalypse is happening. It's like, man, they're all quoting Kevin Samuels. They're God King, they're Slave Master. They're in the comment section buck dancing for their slave master, Kevin Samuels. And, oh, he predicted the future. Oh, boyos, it's, the women are all going to be hired at Subway now. And, yeah, the whole comment section is just a litany of cope. As I always say, never underestimate a man's ability to cope. It's one of the strongest instinct. And all of these dudes in the comment section shucking and jiving for their housemaster Kevin. It's, oh my God, I can't even go there. It's just so cringy to me. But I'm actually going to give a hot take. I actually have a lot more respect for the hardcore porn stars than I do for the titty streamers who create OnlyFans and make millions, right? Like, I actually have more respect for women like Nikki Dial or Chasey Lane, the 90s style porn stars, because at least they made, I guess, the closest thing you could to an honest living in that industry. They appeared on videotape and everything, and it wasn't like they were manipulating individual guys or anything. It was a product. Porn has always been a need. So I actually have a little bit of a respect for that by comparison to the e-girl on Twitch who, does a bunch of, video games showing her titties and then creates an OnlyFans and makes six figures and, waits a year and a half before even flashing a nipple on OnlyFans, but takes advantage of all of these lonely guys. I have less respect for her, and she's not the one getting banned off of OnlyFans, okay? They're not banning nudity. And even if they ever do, there'll be plenty of alternatives. But man, those guys, like, on the internet, millions of them, pretending that they got a win, those guys are in desperate need of like a 5-year black pill prescription, man. It's just such a cope. I don't even know where to start with that. Words fail me. Words fail me. Let's move on to the next story. I'll make it a short stream today. We'll make this the last story, but I'll do more streams and, whenever. I'll be back. Like I said, even though I'll probably be moving the more edited videos to a different channel, I'll always be here to do like the odd, stream or whatever. So do not despair. And I wasn't kidding about the debate thing or the conversation. If there's anyone out there that you think I should have a chat with or whatever, I am now ready. I have a top 5 list of people I want to get into like a discussion with. One of the people I wanted to talk about this issue with, the incel shooters with, there was this guy, right? His name is, I think, Owen Jones. I'll bring up when I edit this video, I'll bring up a slide so you can see who I'm talking about. But man, this guy, the day after the Plymouth Shooter, I watched his video. And the problem with bread tubers, right? The problem with bread tubers is they always default to the female perspective. And there's nothing wrong with getting a woman's perspective, okay? I'm not part of the manosphere over here. There's no woman bashing on the CBP channel. But it's always, how does said issue affect women? Women should have their perspectives on a given topic, but it's only the female perspective. It's like the problem with BreadTube is it's the inverse of the manosphere. It's always how does it affect women, right? And It's always like, oh, there was the Plymouth Shooter, right? He was an incel. Let's talk about white supremacy. It's like, no, it's, I did an entire video where I talked about the link, because there is a link between incels becoming radicalized towards like fringe right-wing content. That is a real phenomenon. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but that's not the issue. It's not about that. It's about the underlying societal factors that drove him to go ER. It's not about, white supremacy. It's like, what percentage of incels end up joining like the far right, the alt-right? Like, what, 5%? And I didn't listen to much right-wing content about this, but I'm sure it would have probably been like, single mothers caused him to do it, because he did hate his mother. And, I don't know what went on there, but I haven't actually heard any intelligent discord about this topic, right? So, in a nutshell, this individual story doesn't matter, because it was, in my opinion, it wasn't part of a trend. It was a one-off. And by the way, yes, I am aware that this guy was subbed to my channel, but he was subbed to like, 80 channels. Like, he was subscribed to many different channels of all, different types of politics and everything. So I don't put much credence. Is that the right word? Credence? Not too much credence to that. But the point is, right, this case was probably an isolated case as far as I can tell. So therefore, the more kind of relevant topic of discussion is, I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this graph, right? The fact that it's not just, by the way, it's not just men. There is an uptick in women, and this needs to be updated. Most of you have probably seen this graph that essentially shows that 28% of guys are on the sphere of inceldom. And rather than talking about how they're all linked to white supremacy or some nonsensical side note, the link between, extremist politics and involuntary celibacy, rather than talking about the side notes of it, let's talk about the sociological factors that led to this, without blaming anybody, without blaming a demographic, okay? Because I know that there's a lot of blame involved. Let's not blame anybody here, kids. Let's just have an intelligent conversation about A, the causes of this, and B, the remedies for it. I made a video a while ago, how society can fix the incel problem, where I touched on some topics, but maybe I should do like a massive, deep dive into it, where rather than just skimming across the surface, we go into like a proper analysis. And I'm not saying I have the answers. If I did, I would be presenting them to a higher authority than people watching on YouTube. But the discussion I've seen so far around this has all been terrible. It's all been, how whenever there's like a shooting or whatever, people always want to hijack it to their narrative, narrative like gun control, or in this case, the definition of, I don't want to say the word scaryism, because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that word on YouTube on this channel, but you get the idea, right? There's never any like proper discussion around the actual issue. It's always people wanting to hijack it for their narrative. But yeah, people wanted to know what my thoughts on it were, and I guess that's it really. But there's more to it than just the Western conversation. What about what's going on in the Far East? What about the sexlessness going on in Japan? The guys over there who aren't having sex, most of it seemingly voluntarily, they seem like they're happy being self-imposed, vol cells. Like they seem, there's no shootings going on over there as far as I'm aware. I don't follow the news closely, but I haven't heard much about it. Why is it that Western men are getting sent their own way and going ER over it, but guys in the East seem kind of neutered in a sense? They seem like they're enjoying it. And I know I don't have, all of the facts on my case on my side. Just I'd need to look into that story. But it's a much broader topic than my white supremacy. My gun control. That's so not the topic of conversation as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this quick little video today, nice and short and sharp again. In fact, it's probably a good thing that I've now taken the pressure off myself to like grow this channel with, edited videos and just do these chilled out videos. It probably, if anything, is actually good for my content. I actually enjoy just speaking a bit more off the cuff than trying to edit stuff together. But in saying that though, I feel like I have a talent, I feel like there's this talent inside of me for writing scripts and everything. When I have tried it, it's been successful. and all of the editing. So I'm still going to do my edited videos. I'm still going to do this mythical channel. I've been working on it. Just because you guys don't see anything, all you hear is me all talk and no action, doesn't mean that's the case. I've already written half of several scripts, but I'm still deciding what length I want them to be. I'm thinking 20 to 30 minutes is probably the ideal. 20 to 30 minutes of the idea behind scripting is that it is scripted, but you can't tell that it's scripted. That's the art of the genre. That's kind of it. People know logically that you can't speak that intelligently off the cuff when you listen to, there's certain types of people that do those history documentaries. You can tell that they're scripted, but they say it in a way that it just sounds pretty natural. So that's the trick. But that takes quite a bit of time to produce, and I'm not quite sure which one I want to start with. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with that. So I know I sound like I'm all talk and no action, but it takes it's like a book, I found out that Stephen King wrote entire books and then at the end just threw them in the garbage and said, that's not good enough. That's what happened with Pet Sematary. He initially just threw it out. His wife dug it out of the trash. Well, according to legend, this could have just been marketing, but, according to legend, his wife dug Pet Sematary out of the trash and said, you should consider publishing it. And he did, and it went on to become a Stephen King classic. So that happens with YouTube. You'll do an entire stream or whatever, and then at the last second you're like, that was garbage, and just delete it permanently. That's happened before. Anyway, I'll wrap it up here. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back soon.